and like I always say, if you're just joining us, this is Charity Gordons with the Healthy, Holy, Healthy Show. Now, before we went on a break, we were talking about stress and depression with Mr. James MURUGU, who is with us today as our guest speaker. Mr. James, I wanted to ask a question before we went on a break. You said that one of the best ways to release stress is by talking about it. Are there other ways that one can be able to release stress apart from talking about it?
The major factor I always say about stress and depression is personal. It's just a personal perception. Personal perception, as I said there earlier, anything beyond your control, you leave it, and anything that, and always speak out, seek help from others. So the major one, basically, it's personal perception. And when you realize that, as I have said, as I've mentioned some of the symptoms that would tell someone is depressed, once someone realizes they are not on the right track, get some medical advice or get some counselors to talk to, and with that you'll have solved the problem halfway. Mm-hmm. And with that you'll be able to manage the situation. Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's great. So going back to healthy living and what it entails, what else does healthy living entail?
Apart from the few factors that we've mentioned, healthy eating, avoidance of drugs, lifestyle, basically, stress, depression, we also have a major issue also called hygiene. We all know that hygiene is a practice of maintaining health and prevention of diseases. Basically, it's hygiene. Once I mention hygiene is directly associated and affiliated to cleanliness. And even in our spiritual beliefs, we always told cleanliness is next to godliness. And hygiene is one thing that when times will come when we'll be discussing diseases, there's these diseases that we normally say they are communicable, yani they are contagious. These conditions just lie on hygiene, and hygiene is basically on the environment. We have to maintain hygiene in the environment, and when the environment hygiene is well taken care of, so you find those so-called waterborne diseases, they are not going to be, we are not going to find ourselves with such. So we also have the personal hygiene, basically, and you see personal hygiene is those things we learned from our primary level. I remember when we were in school, we would be checked whether we have a handkerchief, we would be checked whether our nails are well trimmed, we would be checked whether we have had a shower. The reason for that was to nurture children to grow knowing personal hygiene is paramount for our good health. And you all know there are those even parasites that attack our bodies because of hygiene. You know, there are those bed bugs, we have lice. Basically there are those parasites that attack us simply because there are those fleas. We also have these conditions like we have jiggers. All those parasites that attack human, they're 100% affiliated to hygiene. It's all about hygiene. So if we would take care of our personal hygiene, some of these conditions would really be very far away from us. We also have, under personal hygiene, we also have sanitation. How are people managing the sanitation? How are people handling the issue of toilets? How are public toilets? How clean are even the toilets used at home? Those lie all under hygiene. And you know, even the use of toilets, there are those also conditions that that arise from poor sanitation. And you see diseases like the waterborne diseases, the cholera, dysentery. We know that those conditions are spread through the human waste, anything we excreted, and those germs, those microorganisms are there. Those diseases would be transmitted very easily. So hygiene is something very paramount, both in the environment, personal hygiene. We also talk of medical hygiene, that is in medical facilities. Otherwise, at times, medical facilities, they tend to be, instead of treating, they become the means of transmitting diseases. So we also have food hygiene. Food hygiene is very paramount, and that's why you see whenever there are waterborne diseases, the Ministry of Health, through public health, they would close all the food outlets, because without food hygiene, you are going to mess around with people. Food hygiene also is very important, because you also have to consider the food outlets you are going to eat. You also have to consider like these fruit vendors. You also have to take care where you are going to eat those fruits. You know, fruits are not like cooked food. Fruits, you eat them when they are raw, so you're not sure how those vegetables are cleaned. So it's about us to look at hygiene in a broader aspect. And hygiene also would entail even like we mentioned about sleep. Sleep, we should also have a hygienic sleep, whereby what I'm trying to say is that in sleep, don't trigger your sleep with with drugs. And if you look at all these factors we are discussing pertaining healthy living, you realize that these factors are rotating. Every factor is dependent on the other. So you find that, like the issue of sleep, we mentioned sleep is very paramount. On hygiene, we have to say that sleep is very essential. Use the bed for sleeping. The bed is not for watching the TV. It's not for doing other things. So hygiene, sleep hygiene, personal hygiene, medical hygiene, all these hygienes should be well taken care of. And wherever a hygiene condition arises, make sure it is treated in the right way. Yes.
Let's talk about the communicable diseases. I'm sure there are very many communicable diseases. For viewers out there who may not know what these communicable diseases are, I think I'd like you to take us through that.
Well, I think communicable disease, we'll discuss it as part of the disease. Maybe before I go to the communicable diseases, it's also good to mention, to add something on the hygiene. Above hygiene, we cannot talk of hygiene and we fail to talk about the fresh air. Fresh air is also a requirement for healthy living, because with good fresh air is just the same way as living in a hygienic environment. So it's also good to be in an environment whereby we have fresh. Make sure wherever you are, there is fresh air circulation. The reason for this is, with fresh air, you have good environment for the body. Also, a place with fresh air, the respiratory system, the conditions affiliated to respiration, you are not going to be subjected to these conditions. So fresh air, it's just part of good hygiene. Yes.
How about the people who find themselves living in places where there is congestion, there is a lot of waste? How can they access fresh air, especially those who live in slums, for example?
Well, now that is a challenge in the society, that at times it's beyond it's beyond just simple solution. These are things that entails a long term and a lot of resources. Because once you see like the congestion with certain condition outbreaks, like talk of TB. TB is one condition that whenever you are in a congested place, the spread is very easy. So that is now where the government comes in, and also to educate the society and to let the public know that the condition the condition may be congested, but that congestion should not be a reason. Keep the place in a hygienic way, and also ensure there is, when it comes to congestion, ensure there is proper air circulation.
Indeed, we are continuing to learn more about healthy living, and we are going to go on a short break, but when we come back, we are going to look at something else related to health. So keep it Champions TV.